lounging, son.
Welcome back to the Comic Lounge. My name is Ryan. Back with me again, Eli. We're going through Volume 4 of TMNT. This is issue 3 that we're going to be going through. Dope cover by Mike Dooney, like we just said before we hit that record button. And also, of note, they mentioned it in the letters pages of 2 that we didn't talk about last time, but he said this was going to be a bigger issue.
Right.
With 56 pages with ads and letters and stuff, but he said we'll never charge you more. We're always going to keep it no matter what. If the page count goes up, same cost.
Yeah, $2.95 is cheap for a book these days.
You ain't finding a book for $2.95, I'll tell you that much.
No.
Unless you're going dollar bid diving, that's about the only time you'll get a comic book cheap, or
Absolutely.
back issue. Another great issue. I really dug this one. A lot of stuff happens.
So much setup. And like I said, it's cool because each turtle ends up on their own, like, separate mission in this series, and it's all getting set up in these early issues.
Oh yeah, dude.
And we got to welcome Eric Talbot on the inks.
Oh yeah, dude.
He is the man.
Murderer's Row.
I'll tell you what, man. He is a tattoo artist up in Northampton now, and I'm dying to go up there and have him tattoo me, man.
I know it's kind of the reason I haven't got a Turtles tattoo yet, because I really want to get one done by him.
Me too, man. He's so good. Word. And he's got a store. You guys should check it out. I mean, he's not doing, I don't know if he's doing commissions, but you can get posters remarked and stuff off his store.
Oh yeah. Is it still, and like you said, skullfactory.com still there?
I don't know if it's skullfactory.com still, but we'll
he's
put
on
it down
social
in the
media.
comments.
And he's on social
Yeah.
media too. So
Instagram is, I think, where he does it.
So,
right, so we stop off in the Venezuelan highlands. Sorry, dude. I went right in.
Yeah, no, go for it. That's what I was gonna say. So we're some random spot based on where we've been. We haven't been here yet. This is a completely new locale. Look at the foliage, everything, dude, about this page is just rife with detail, dude. It's just
And now we're starting to get some of these like little Talbotisms in there too. Some of the details he puts on the shells are insane. The way he spots blacks are insane. He is so good. On the next page, they put this word in there to stand on top of the tepui. Now I looked that up, and that is like, it's like these flat mountains. It's kind of like volcanic rock, but it's these like flat outcroppings of mountains that does happen in like Venezuela and Mexico and stuff like that. So I was really interested to kind of figure out what they're doing, what they did it.
Yeah, I mean, none of these people we've seen before. They're all just random explorers, right? They're out there looking for something strange stuff as they're thinking, right? And then we flip the page, and this is where, well, not this first page, but the second one. This dude's almost gonna walk off the fucking edge of a cliff because he's not paying attention to what the fuck he's doing.
Yeah, they're doing a good job of establishing these characters, really quickly, setting it up. It's like there's some locals, and then there's some like US based scientists, and they're trying to find these strange creatures. They're like, we've heard of these sightings, and here we see Jim Lawson, like, who not only draws bikes really well, but draws dinosaurs amazing.
I agree, dude. So it's almost like a mutant dinosaur, right? Like that they're looking at. I don't remember if this pays off later on, but I would imagine that this I feel like this is like where they, like the Utroms experimenting with the ooze and stuff, and maybe that's how this came about. I feel like that pays off, but
there's something about that. There's something about being shrunk down and stuff.
Yeah.
But let's not get ahead of ourselves.
But no. So this is they're going. They're looking for this creature, and this is where shit fucking gets insane. Like this fucking character is weird as fuck.
Yeah,
and
it's like a tree, kind of like wood-based creature, but alien.
Speaking some random language that, like, there's no way to decipher this either.
Nah. I love when comics do that. They don't give you anything. And he fires this ray at him, and with a foff, everybody's gone. Except for him.
And I love, because, like, look, we're getting all the tones, flat black, and then no tones at all, just stark black with white. Insane. And they're gone. And this dude is just, this creature is just sitting there staring. And that's all we get, dude. That's all we get of that until later on in the run, which is when it will be revisited.
And we're back in here with the armored truck. That's such a sick panel. And again, man, I can't stop saying, like, how well Lawson and Laird work together on these things. Like, I guess it's the same way him and Kevin Eastman work together. Like, you almost can't see the division of labor. And I know that, like, these are Laird's shadings on the face and shape, but then that's like a Lawson mouth, and then it's just.
So since I won't be able to ask him myself, was it like, do you know if like back then when they were doing this volume, if they were working out of the same studio? Because I know there was a Mirage Studios, like an actual like building that was not in Peter's house, wasn't in Kevin's apartment like it was in the past. Were they working in a studio together, passing pages back and forth?
I kind of think so. Shit, man. Honestly, if I'm honest, I can't really remember the interview myself. That was a while ago.
Yeah.
But I do know from context clues and stuff that they show these photos of them like in the studio, and I do think they were like there was like a Mirage studio even until the 2010s, I think. I'm not sure.
Yeah, because like I don't know, it's something that I was thinking of, because like I don't feel like there was still much digital being done in terms of like penciling and inking. I mean, the tones, I don't know how they were doing the tones back then. Maybe that was digital.
I think it's all pen and ink and all still on duotone boards. And
so you think they just still had some, is what you're saying? Because I know you can't get them anymore, right?
Yeah, I think they had a ton. I think Eric Talbot's like still doing commissions on them or something like that, because he posts some insane shit. He's like, I just got a duotone board, and I'm like, what? Wow.
Hey, sidebar, did you get something from AC Farley recently?
I mean, what did you see that?
I saw the thanks Eli, and I'm like,
yeah, he drew that. Oh my god, yeah, I did.
Okay, that's awesome. Because I thought he wouldn't do turtle stuff, and then I saw that he did a bunch of like thank yous to people that bought art from him, and I was like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah, I gotta say that he's probably my favorite. I mean, he's one of my favorite, if not my top. But I have this thing on the wall over here that I took out the 1992 calendar. And I didn't know then, but it's the cover of the Turtle Suit trade, the old Mirage collection of short stories.
Right.
It's a painting that AC did of them, all no masks. And like I said, when I was a kid, I loved them, no masks. Donnie's got this like big old straw hat on. I'm not sure if you know the image.
I do. I have the trade. They're like in the woods or something, right?
They're in the woods.
Yeah.
It's always been my favorite image, and I've had that same rip out from the calendar on my wall ever since I was a kid.
That's awesome.
And, I used to trace Farley all the time. And so
he's a great artist, dude.
Yeah. And so just getting that sketch from him without even, I bought this art from him thinking like, this is how I'm going to get his work. And then I sent him some of my comics and stuff like that. And we were chatting, and just like him being like, I'm going to do this sketch for you too. And I'm like, sick.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, he's been super active the past, I don't know. I feel like the past few weeks, I think you and I were talking about last time we went like the dollar bin diving, dude, and like all of a sudden he just started posting so regularly, like with those art and stuff.
And it seems like he's like liquidating his studio too, which like it seems like these dudes can just make millions off their garage junk because it's all like Mirage fire.
Yeah, I know. I gotta hit him up for some stuff, because I mean I love his art too. Like he's one of the best turtle artists.
Yeah, and when you see his other stuff, like the Pioneer stuff, which I think changed to Team Dragon Fighters, and his other non-turtles work, it's all so good. And his paintings, his like science fiction novel covers and stuff, absolute fire.
Next level.
Yeah. And so is the work on this.
That's Jim Lawson right here, dude. Yeah.
Killing it, man. Like, and they're just tinkering. They're like getting the tires or getting the wheels back on. They must have pumped them up, put new tires in, filled it up with some diesel,
put a new battery in there, flushing out the tanks and stuff like that, the fuel lines, all that stuff.
And they're like, all right, so what are we gonna do with all these bodies? And they're like, well, we put them in the body bags. Good suggestion, Raph. And like, what about all this loot?
Yeah, Raph just wants to leave them there. I think it's Casey, right, that says we should, or no, Donnie says that, they may be criminals, but they deserve a decent burial.
He's like, I don't know, dude. Like, Raph's got a point. We should just probably like bounce out of here. And like,
I know they don't really acknowledge the fact that there's a shit ton of money there.
Yeah, it's just like we'll get to that later, because these are still very, these are ninjas, and they don't really have need for money.
Yeah, they live in the sewer.
What about for pizza and Star Trek DVDs? Come on now. All right, so
it's basically just them talking about how they're gonna get the thing back to Donnie's garage, right? So he can do whatever it is, make whatever modifications he wants to make.
Right. And it's kind of like, they're like, we need a new turtle van. We're going to have this next like sick ass ride. And they try the engine. They're like, and it starts going. But, these exhaust is full of shit and it smokes them out.
Good karma?
Gakarama.
Like what
I
is,
think he's like,
Gakarama.
Gakarama.
Okay. All right. Yeah. If there was like a hyphen, I think I would have noticed that. But like,
yeah, it's like one of those.
It looks like, yeah, it's one of those words. But yeah, they're fucking like come out and they're like all the fumes from the fucking truck just.
Yes. And that shading on that smoke and everything. And that's, I don't know, that's a Lawson Talbot right there.
Even the water too, like to give it that sheen.
Oh yeah, the tones that they put in the that's beautiful.
Now we go to the U.S. Air Defense Headquarters. So this is now they're getting a signal, that something's up in space. Something from the dark side of the moon has lifted off. And they seem worried, but not really. I feel like they should be a little bit more worried, but
they're still like, everything. Yeah. We're at DEFCON 3. I watched that show Veep. I've been watching that recently, and they had a funny line. They're like, "Let's go to DEFCON. Fuck you." All right, that show's funny.
Yeah, I haven't seen that show. Oh, I've heard it. I've heard good things though about Veep, so I'll check that out.
Yeah, I finished Always Sunny, and my lady's like, "Try Veep." Oh man, so yeah, we're just seeing everything being mobilized. Like we got these jets, we got
the Navy.
Yeah, the space, the satellites are reconnoitering to try to get us better footage. And then we head back to the superhero
hospital. Yeah.
Yeah.
He says, "You don't want any painkillers?" Yeah, I'm sure. Thanks, though.
He's like, "Dude, I'm a ninja." Okay, well, I was just gonna say it's funny how like Raptor, he looks so like nonplussed. He like doesn't even care. He's he can fly and he has angel wings, so he's just like doesn't even care about all this stuff. He's above it.
He looks like he's rolling his eyes, kind of.
Right. It's like the acting is strong there.
And I love this. Like, he's like, "Don't hesitate if you change your mind. The meds are free." And then right here, he's like, "We have an excellent special prescription secure courier service, so you don't even have to leave your secret headquarters."
Oh, that's why he's rolling his eyes, because that's his job. He flies it around to people. And we're starting to get, these are some of the Talbotisms I'm talking about, like on the shell, panel 1, these like dark shadows on his shell. That turns into these amazing kind of like spots that Eric Talbot does later on. He's like, am I crazy, or does this elevator just like stop going up and start going to the side? And they're like, "Dude, we got to keep this location secret." So the elevator zigzags.
Yeah, it's interesting, it's like, because we have no idea how to get there.
Yeah.
And you don't even know where it is. It's in the middle of New York somewhere. Is it underground? Is it above ground? Like,
yeah. And all of a sudden they're like on a roof and they're like, "Okay."
Yeah.
Mikey's like, "What's going on here?"
And then they have a special ID card so that, they can get back in. And he's like, "Oh, can I get 3 more from my brothers?" "Oh, I got to talk to administration to make sure."
Yeah. It's interesting. It's like these bureaucratic things, and it's not just like whatever you want.
Yeah. "I'll get back to you via email."
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny.
It's so weird, dude.
It's modern.
Yeah.
And the dude's like, "Come on, hero. I'm going to fly you home." He's like, "Sick. Let's catch some air."
Yeah, I love this panel right here.
Very cool.
The full page, actually,
All right, we flash back to the Utroms, who are like, "Let's go in." But I'll tell you, if they fire at us, do not fire back. Which is so interesting. Like, it's so opposite of what we've seen of the Utroms before. And, like, we're seeing them in their same robot bodies as we saw them in Volume 1. We're seeing the same, like, menacing faces we thought were our enemies before. And here they are kind of, like, landing on Earth. And we don't know what they're going to do. We don't know their motivation at all.
Yeah, I mean, they're a peaceful race, which is not...
For the most part.
For the most part, it's not what we've seen in the current iteration of comics. Like, obviously Krang, which was based on the Utroms, but there wasn't a whole race of them like that we saw in the old cartoons and stuff.
Right. And I think there is a few good Utroms in the IDW that we're seeing now.
It's been a while since, I don't know, it's been a while since we've seen them, I feel like.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure there probably is, but it's not like here. Like, I don't think there was an evil one that they were fighting against in the.
Certainly not a super chill one like Professor Obligado, who we're going to get to later on. All right, we're just seeing them talk like our mission depends on this. Like we must not appear hostile. We need to be like super chill. And we see this giant robot,
I'm pretty
which
sure
I
it's
think you were
Fugitive.
right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you're right. More than I've been thinking about it since last week. And it's interesting too the way these are like space tugs, like tugboats, and they look like that. They're not like deep sea or sorry, deep space, smooth Star Trek Enterprise type of ships. They look like tugboats, and they look like these ships that are meant to stay in one place and not out warp speeding through the galaxy.
Like I wonder if I don't know if it ever explains it, but like I wonder like how long were they there,
On the moon.
on the moon? Because I don't think they ever, I mean, maybe they do eventually, but like I said, it's been so long since I've read it, but
Yeah.
they had to have been there for quite some time building that thing up because it doesn't seem like they're rushing anything. It seems like they're just taking their time, they're planning. Then we get back to Splinter.
Back to Northampton, yeah.
Making
Super chill. He's like making some tea.
Yeah.
With his Totoro clock. He's like got some cookies and what I'm thinking is a microwave burrito.
Yep.
That's a nice little afternoon there. He sits down and turns on his trash TV.
Yeah. No words necessary, just in chilling.
Nah. I really like what they give Splinter in this series and what happens to him.
Yes.
It's real and it's very cool.
I agree.
And immediately we flash over back to Shadow with her spike tires, her chains, and she's bripping through the forest.
I love Shadow. She's like one of my favorite like side characters.
Super cool, man. It's weird that that's not her in Last Ronin, and it's weird that they kind of like retconned her out.
Yeah, I didn't really get that. Like it didn't, to me it didn't make sense. Like that there is no Shadow. Like I can understand that there's a second child that was actually April and Casey's, but like to just not have Shadow a part of it at all. Maybe it's something they may do in the sequel. I don't know. Maybe there's a reason.
Well, and it's an interesting thing because it's the whole thing where like Casey goes away, meets a new woman, they get pregnant together, they have like a little life together, she dies, and then he ends up taking care of the baby. So there's a lot to set up there if you're gonna do this character.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah.
Was that in volume 1 or is that?
That's volume 2.
Oh,
and I don't actually, I don't think it's really Casey's daughter. I think
that's right.
Has the baby. Right. It's some like mob persons, right? Like
right, and they both end up dying or something like that, and Casey's left with the kid.
Right.
Because he meets her mom at like a diner when he's on like a motorcycle trip.
Right.
And then they kind of strike up a relationship, and she has the daughter already. Yeah. She's coming in here through the farmhouse. Beautiful like sky here. Just like, again, these guys are masters of this duo shade at this point, and they're just like, killing it.
I know, dude. I love the backgrounds are just as good as like the character work. Absolutely. every aspect of like the detail they put into the ground, like the little things sticking up from the ground, or fucking the rocks, the plants.
Yeah, the like crops here in a line and stuff.
I mean, look at this, even here, right here, the keys,
the key keeper. Yeah,
like you don't even have to do that, but it's just
you don't have to do that.
It's those extra details that really like add to it,
Yeah, and it's like, does Jim Lawson have that in his house? Like, is that a real, like, that's got to be a thing that they have, Just Shadow's pulling into the garage. She's like, times like these, man, wish I had a normal family. Yeah. And she's about to get a surprise when she comes in here. The soup is cold, bro, but the news is hot. She started talking, and Splinter's like, quiet, child. Come in here, sit down. This shit is cray. The world is never going to be the same.
Yeah, aliens coming to the city. They're watching. Everybody's panicking.
Insane. But it's kind of like, not as big of a surprise for the Turtles and Splinter because they know the Utroms already. They know aliens exist. They've been to other planets, so it's like not as crazy for them, but still none of this has like invaded their Earth, or none of this has like, it's never hit their Earth.
Yeah, because even with the Utroms in the old Mirage Volume 1, like when they leave, they use the transmat, right? Yeah. So they're not like flying in space or anything. They just transport themselves back to their homeworld.
Exactly.
And I love this part here too with the amateur videographer, because you see Raptor obviously in the sky, I love how I don't know how they achieved this effect, but like
I bet you they actually, excuse me, I bet you they actually did it on computer, because Peter Laird was always messing with computer stuff like that. And like we saw in that issue 9, they actually do use computer graphics to duplicate and do those nanobots and stuff.
Yeah.
So
But I like how they
really
did this,
the
the pixelation of Raptor and Michelangelo up in the air, you know?
Yeah, it's great.
And then you got the Mad Hat militia, down there, and they're
Right.
shooting.
It's so funny, just shooting at the sky.
Yeah.
That's such a common thing we see in like old science fiction, where they're just like shooting at the sky, or like Independence Day or something like that.
Yeah.
That's what I immediately thought, is like there's a party on a roof somewhere and they're like, take me.
I also want to mention, before I forget, like the spelling of Michelangelo. Like they mentioned that in the letters pages too. Like they spelled it actually Michael instead of Michelangelo, right? Like they added the A, and one of the people writes a letter like, are we just not going to address that he changed the spelling? And then Peter's like, well, we spelled it wrong, when we first came up with the character.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah.
Kevin talked about that in an interview somewhere too. He's like, I just spelled it wrong. Funny. All right, so here we are back in the truck. Dudes are ready. They're like just driving it down an old subway line right now. They're like, oh no, they're getting ready to like bust out, and they're like, we build this like ramshackle like little ramp.
I mean, I'd be with Raph, dude. I wouldn't think that fucking armored van would drive up that stupid makeshift ramp.
Nah.
But it works. They get over it, dude.
Yep. And they get in and they're just like driving it up through these stairs.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so funny. They're like, what the hell? And they just keep going, and they're like, oh, something's, it must be us that spooked these people. But then on the second panel, their faces are like, oh, sorry, I'm already.
Oh, yeah.
Red. Sorry, man. They bust through and they're just like, oh, I love the expressions on their faces here. They're all just like,
dude, that's something that Jim Lawson's like really good at, is the expressiveness on the faces, because sometimes you'll look at a comic and like they all look the same. For I mean, I hate to say that, but like they just don't show emotion as much. And for him to be able to do it so much, and it's really, a lot of it is in the eyes.
Yes.
That's where he sells it,
It's insane. And then we flash over to these Blackhawks.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm fairly certain that this logo on the side of a Blackhawk, which is like a flaming sugar cube, is like a Jim Lawson logo type deal. I've got one of his mini comics that's got that on the front. So that's
right on.
Artist. A little something he put in there.
A little Easter egg, yeah.
Easter egg, yeah.
So yeah,
right, bogeys in range, they fire. This is similar to Independence Day and some of these science fiction movies where they like go in there and they try to shoot, and they're like, they got shields up, bro.
And I love how just non-assuming this craft is by the Utroms. It doesn't look like anything. It doesn't really look terrifying at all. It just looks like a fucking, like a bucket almost.
Yeah. It looks like a travel coffee mug or something. It's non-assuming. It's not, and like, it goes along with them being like, I don't want the humans to think we're like trying to take over or whatever. Cause like, if they had some sort of, Castle Grayskull looking ass with like a big skull on the front, or like evil, some shit, then people would be like, we're taking over, getting taken over. But it's like, we got this travel coffee mug coming in here. We're just trying to chill.
Yeah.
Land in the ocean. And the page ends with this classic Turtles device, which they used to do in volume 1, which is have the first line of the next page to make you get the page turn, to make you excited for the page turn. So like, Shadow, hello. And then you get the page turn, and then you get, you're right into the action. It helps you helps link the two scenes.
We finally get April, dude, who's like been somewhat non-existent in this book. I mean, I don't remember if she was even in issue 1, to be honest with you.
So I don't.
So like, this is the first sighting of April, dude. Like, and to my opinion, besides Splinter and the Turtles, that's the first character you think of is April, right? And like, now she's making her appearance. She's the only thing we've got is her trying to have a kid with Casey. Like, that's all.
And they said that she's like not having the best time right now. So she's trying to get Shadow on her flip phone, same one I had, and they're like, there must be some interference. Oh my god.
I love the footprints in the snow.
Oh, it's so much beautiful detail.
Yeah.
And there's solid blacks on the car and like the blacks into
The shadow of the Utroms.
exactly.
Yeah.
So good. And here it is. We got 3 panels on 2 pages, and it's just kind of coming in here. We see it landing, kind of getting close to Liberty Island there.
Mm-hmm.
It almost looks like the Star Trek 4 whale probe coming in there, and it's landing.
I know, it's like it just builds this tension with no words, and you just see it slowly moving into position, and then comes over the ocean, and there's like this abandoned ship that's underneath, and it
Just
just like
crushes it. Yeah, it's great. And it's interesting too, because it's not like these things just happen. We kind of see like that there's these tugs helping it land, and that they're working to like make a spot for it, and they're like, fire metaphave beams now, like fuse us to the base seafloor. So they're setting themselves up, and it's not just like random ship lands in with no help. It's like,
yeah, and they're planning on being there. Like that's another
right.
like that's telling you like they're not just coming here for a moment. They're
Yeah.
planning on staying wherever it is that they're going to land.
Yeah, they're trying to welcome Earth onto the galactic stage.
Yeah.
This is much like First Contact Day, where sorry, I keep going to Star Trek, but I know the Turtles are big fans.
Yeah. And we've got visitors, and from the looks of things,
yeah. And the boat's like, damn, it displaces all the water. Like if you put, drop an ice cube in a cup of water, it's going to make everything fly out. So it's kind of like doing that same thing.
And I love the perspective that we're getting to see how really big it is, because you can't really tell. I think it's obviously it's big, but like just seeing how small that boat is compared to the Utroms like headquarters, for lack of a better thing to call it.
And then we got to add for issue 4 coming June 2002.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, another fucking good issue, dude.
Killer issue. I didn't see as many people in the letters column this time, but
of people you knew, yeah. I know. I always kind of look to see if I can recognize anybody. You never know who's gonna write a letter. All of these letters, obviously, like for the most part, are pretty lengthy. So like that's the love that Turtles have.
Yeah, and it's cool that as the issues go on, Peter more and more responds, and I think this is what sparked him in starting his blog, the Peter Laird blog, which again is still available online.
Yes,
and he talks a lot on that. It's invaluable resource. And then we get him talking about the this guy who's like all pissed off about the snowmobiles.
The smug self-righteousness of his responsible and mature comments made me grind my teeth. I have a certain amount of sympathy with Tom's position. I just love that first sentence of his response to the dude, but
he really goes in.
Yeah, dude. I love Peter Laird so much. And, obviously Kevin Eastman's more front and center in terms of like the current Turtle stuff, but it's very important for anybody, listening or watching. Like Peter Laird was equally important to that franchise, and for a long time was the only one of the two of them that was doing anything with Turtles. I mean, and that's from this volume, right? Like,
at this point, he's written more issues than Kevin Eastman for sure, and this is not to diminish either one's work on the book at all, but like, this is all Peter Laird. This whole volume 4 is him and Lawson, and it's like straight out of his mind.
Yeah. Well, there's that photo I was talking about too with Eric Talbot.
Dude, he's got that second print of I can't remember which volume 1 issue, but he's got that cover on the wall there.
Yeah.
And it looks like almost like paleo pages. Great issue, man.
Great
these are so much fun. They're so much different from the Mirage volume 1, 2, 3. It's just like their own thing. The way they set up the Utroms and the way it proceeds from here is just what makes me love this volume so much.
Yeah, dude, it's a great run, dude. I keep saying it, but I'm so excited that we're doing this and that we're going through it issue by issue. Obviously, it's going to get harder for us to do as we get to the later issues, because like those are the harder ones to find, and I don't have some of those, but we'll figure it out.
We'll figure out a way.
So yeah, dude. If you're not, everybody listening, watching, if you're not already following us, make sure you follow Eli and myself. All our links are down below. And make sure you hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you're notified every time we drop a new vid. And on that note, we're out.
Shell yeah.